Okay, so we lied last week when we said that this was going to be our last in-person recording.
So here's the best part. I've kidnapped Dylan.
Yeah, I'm actually here not by will.
No, this is by my choice.
Yeah.
Nobody else's. And he doesn't need help, so don't call anybody.
Call my husband.
No, don't call him.
Just call.
He hasn't even noticed that you're gone.
It's because he's over there on the couch.
Shut up. Just because I also kidnapped him. What?
Oh, she's winging.
Oh, she winging?
With the hair. We're talking about the hair. For anyone on audio only, we're talking about her hair. Also, if you want to see us in person again for another episode, we are live. Not live. We are on, I for some reason, when I thought of YouTube, I don't know. We're on YouTube, the video version. We're stupid.
Oh, speaking of, maybe this is a moment where you could like put this in here, but there's a picture of us being hot messes with a hot mess sign.
That was a cute time. It was on our social media. Go follow us at Hot Mess Moments on Twitter. Yeah. Also, make sure to check us out personally. My name is Dylan Zahner, also known as 8-Bit Dylan online.
We're only Beth.
Right now we are united. We are a gust of wind. But go follow me at 8-Bit Dylan on my socials. That's across Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, which I don't know if I'm going to support anymore after some of this stuff.
Why?
About like how they silence black voices and stuff like that.
Bitch, I haven't been hearing this.
Yeah.
I swear. Okay,
we're a news network now.
I didn't know this because I literally only exclusively see black and queer things on my TikTok.
Yeah. So apparently like certain hashtags, they've been purposely like not showing up on people's like dashboards and stuff like that. And I'd have to look more into it.
I have a question. Is this more, do you think this is like a Chinese like company thing, or is this like a United States?
I don't think so. I think
they're the ones who own it.
Yeah. I don't think it is.
I'm not saying it's okay if they're doing it. I'm trying to figure out what the core of this is.
Yeah.
It stems because we do know that the Chinese government is incredibly racist towards black people.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to look into that. And I would like
to point out, I'm not saying that Chinese people are. I'm saying the Chinese government is, and a lot of
yeah. I don't know. I only know is a lot of people have been complaining about it on Twitter. Mm-hmm. But anyway, go follow me on my socials at 8-Bit Dylan. That was a weird segue.
It sure was. But actually, one of the videos that you just posted was actually from my Instagram story from 2 years ago.
I didn't put that on TikTok.
No, on Twitter.
Yeah,
on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's a good clarification. No, I took this video of Dylan trying to create a TikTok when he first made his TikTok account in November of 2019. I made it the same weekend he did because I was visiting.
Yep.
And that was also the last time we were together in person.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. But there's a really ridiculous video of the concept of your video had been, what if I'm listening to the Mario Brothers theme song and then I do like enough of like the frames of like stop frame to go ba 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 ba, but it was just going to be you in like different like faces or whatever doing it.
It's so bad. It's like ba 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 ba. It's so bad.
It is so.
It reminds me again. It's always gonna come back to Scary Movie 3, where he's like ba ba ba, and he's like
bitch, boo, ho, boo, boo, boo.
If no one's seen Scary Movie 3, they're like, what is happening?
I fully have new neighbors now, and I hope this is their first night and that this is what they're listening. They're like, what are they doing? That bitch too.
What if they're like, oh my God, they're watching Scary Movie 3?
Come on over, bitch.
I know, right?
Imagine if I found neighbors who became friends purely because they watched Scary Movie 3. That's literally how I have made some of the most like intense relationships in terms of friendships of my life.
Thank you to the Wayans brothers.
Yes. And Anna Faris.
And Regina.
What? Not Hall. What's her last name? Regina.
Wait, what?
Regina Hall?
Oh, I'm going to look this up because I don't want to butcher her name. I know it's Regina.
But I always say, like, I always mess it up with the other Regina. It is Hall, Regina Hall, not Regina King.
No, it's not Regina King.
I think it's Regina Hall.
So you got me double thinking. It is Regina Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Regina Hall.
Oh, wow.
Where can they find you?
Nowhere. I don't exist. I'm an enigma. No, you can find me at AugustaWind11 on all my social media accounts, including TikTok. You find me there. And on Twitch and all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
You can also catch me on My Weekly Meltdown.
Yeah, another one of our sister podcasts.
Sisters. No, we are huge. I've been a part of My Weekly Meltdown for a couple of years now. And we're covering Big Brother 23. We try to do other fun shows as well with Allison Kelly and Tyler Lyons. And Tyler is going to join us in a couple weeks' time for the finale of season 1. We're going to do 3 episodes of Lost in the finale. It's going to be purely just a Lost podcast. And he is a student of Lost. He is like you. It is his all-time favorite show.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk Lost with Tyler. It's going to be a ton of fun. Speaking of Lost and the Nanny and all those fun things, if you are new here, the concept of our show is that Lost is my favorite episode or my favorite show of all time, but I'm a bad gay and have never seen The Nanny, which happens to be
my favorite show. And I have never seen Lost, and I'm completely unspoiled on it. And Dylan's completely unspoiled on The Nanny. And I know for Lost, like that's actually pretty rare, apparently, to find someone.
Extremely rare.
I didn't know this. I just figured if you hadn't watched Lost, like you just didn't know anything. But apparently people are like, oh yeah, I know the ending of that. And I'm like, don't tell me because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
It's hard to be unspoiled by Lost because it had such a cultural impact on like television at the time. And there's so many shows that replicate or tried to replicate elements of what Lost did.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's very rare, but I'm very excited. And that's basically the concept of our show. So if you're watching for the very first time, this is completely spoiler free. So you can watch along with us if you've never seen these shows, and you don't have to worry about a single damn thing. No. You will not get spoiled on anything that happens. This is a episode by episode recap of these shows. And we'll pepper in some of our hot mess moments along the way.
Of course. I'm also realizing that when we get to Lost, I've got to...
Oh, sorry. You can go grab it right now. You go grab it. I'm going to let them know real quick. If you want to talk to us...
I got it.
Okay. If you want to talk to us about Lost, anything Lost related, make sure to tweet me at 8BitDylan. If you want to talk about anything Nanny related, tweet them at AugustaWind11.
Yes.
And that's how you can communicate with us. You can also leave comments on our YouTube video. I will let you all know that we have not been reviewing our comments while in person just because we're on the same thing. We will get through and read some of your comments that you've left behind over the last few episodes of the podcast.
Yes. And make sure that if you are listening to us on Apple, to leave those 5-star ratings and reviews so that you can really help boost our content. It's a wonderful way to support our show. And make sure, like, you know, it's just like very encouraging. It's like a great way to be like, you know what? I really like you bitches. You're hot messes and I'm here for it.
Yeah. I appreciate all of the love that I don't get any other way.
I'm sorry. Tyler left a very touching review that said, Beth is beautiful. This podcast is for bottoms.
Yeah. That it's Tyler's reading us.
And is he wrong?
Sound off in the comments. Are you a bottom or a top?
Or verse.
Or verse. Or verse.
Or honestly, if you're like me and you're ace and you don't really give a shit.
There you go. That's perfect.
Cool.
That's a perfect segue into this episode of The Nanny. So this episode is episode 20, which is insane.
We only have 2 more episodes of The Nanny for season 1 left.
It's flying by. I don't understand that. I can't wait.
I just like the feels I have coming up. I'm so excited.
I can't wait
to share it with you.
I'm so excited. But this is episode 20 of The Nanny, Ode to Barbra Jones.
Barbra Joan.
I wrote Jones.
No, Joan. Barbra Joan Streisand.
She was there. That's how she became the nanny.
I'm a bad gay. I didn't know. I know Barbra Streisand. I don't know her middle name.
Okay, did you not listen to Fran at the breakfast table or dinner table? She goes, Barbra Jones Streisand, born blah 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 blah. blah, blah, blah.
You just said Jones. That's what I.
No,
heard.
I did. Joan Streisand. There's a separation between the end of Joan.
Say it in the Nanny voice again.
Barbra Jones Streisand.
It still kind of sounds like Jones. I know it's because you're saying Joan and then Streisand, but I hear Joan.
In what? Oh my God.
But yes.
Just
To Barbra Joan. There you go.
Thank you.
So this episode I really enjoyed. I thought it was really funny. It didn't have as many like, ha ha, that is hilarious. I'm keeling over, dying of laughter. But it had amazing character comedy in it. And I really loved, even though she's not like a main character, I like that this is a Cece centric episode.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're getting so much more about Cece's character. And if you guys have been following along with the show, you know that Cece's become one of my favorite characters on the show. She's super funny. Her physical comedy chops are top notch. And I really love the development of her character.
Yeah.
I also like that this episode went in a direction I didn't think it was going to go. Yeah. And it was... I like for the beginning and middle half of it, I was like, okay, this is where they're going.
Yeah.
Pleasantly surprised by the ending. And I was like, you know what? I liked this episode. It was very good.
Which is funny because even though we're not talking about Lost now, I could smell the twist from Lost from a mile away for this episode. Well, so it's just kind of funny that like we had two things that like you would figure that the 90s kind of corny sitcom show would be the one that had the twist that you could see coming.
Well, I will say in Lost case, it was like painted on the walls in big neon green paint, like what was going to happen, especially with the vision. We'll get to it. But what I loved about this episode is like the character moments. I really liked that we got some more backstory. If I had to rate this episode, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really good. And I loved the lesson. People actually learned their lesson in this episode for once.
Isn't that rare?
That is a rare occasion in The Nanny.
You know what? I got thinking about this not too long ago because like you were bringing up the point that, oh my gosh, this is a sitcom where like no one ever learns their lesson. And I kind of like that because if you look at other sitcoms of the 90s when you like your Full Houses and Saved by the Bells and that kind of thing, like people always learn their lessons and it almost felt like an after school special at those things. I love that The Nanny doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, no, totally. And it also kind of like breaks the mold. And even in this one, they learn the lesson, but then you learn that the lesson isn't like as black and white as you think the answer is going to be. So we start off this episode in an amazing red strappy dress of Fran's. It is so damn cute. It's so obnoxious. It's got the red, yellow, blue, orange with like weird tethery stripes. Love that outfit.
Jacket is ridiculous.
It would have been my outfit of the episode, but we all know what the outfit of the episode of this episode is going to be.
Clearly the robe.
The robe, for sure. Yeah. Actually, that robe was fierce.
It was cute.
It was a fierce robe.
As I was watching that, I was like, I need a big puffy, like,
you need
fluffy
a silk
robe.
I think everyone deserves a silky robe.
I don't know if I want silky.
You don't want a silky robe? See, if I said that in a Nanny accent, it would probably sound like I said, you want a silky rub?
You know, you would think for someone who's been in New York for a whole week that you would have a better sense of what it would sound like.
Yeah. You want a silky rub?
You know what? I give it to you. I give it to you.
Yeah.
You want a Malama?
You want a Malama? So basically we have this like intro scene where there's like all these like B plots that are kind of thrown in on the episodes. We see that Brighton's in softball or baseball. We see that I think this is where Niall's foot starts hurting. We get this like plot point of like
it's that he's got corns on it.
Corns, that's what it is. So we start seeing a little bit of that, and then we're introduced into the main plot of the episode, which is the fact that Cece's father is going to be in town, which when I saw this in the episode, I got so excited because we don't know much about Cece besides the fact that her and her father, we've established this in past episodes, don't have a great relationship.
Yep.
She's very cut from a very privileged cloth.
Yep.
And her and her family are like miles apart from each other. And so when I learned that this, like her father was showing up, I got so excited because I was like, oh my God, we're finally getting some Cece backstory that I really wanted.
I purposely did not tell you that this episode was a Cece-centered episode last week because I really wanted to like, I don't necessarily like this episode, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, I think it's fine. And I like a couple of the moments in it because there are a few things that like I often think about, which we'll get to, but I love I loved knowing that you were going to enjoy this episode,
Yeah.
especially if I didn't tell you it was a CC.
Oh, for sure. It was a pleasant surprise. So some things that I want to point out here are that Maxwell has a lot of really funny one-liners that kind of clue me into the like we've kind of already established that he already knows that CC like wants him really bad and that he is like the way he is speaking about CC makes it very painfully obvious he knows that CC wants him and he just does not want anything to do with it.
So that's interesting. So you take it as he knows and he's trying to maybe potentially let her down by pretending that he doesn't know?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's more so everyone is aware that CC is desperate as hell, even Maxwell. But Maxwell, like, it's like one of those things where here's a perfect way to put it. It's like a creepy older man that you respect that sometimes will make creepy like comments, but it's never enough to where it's like, I'm going to tell you to stop because it's making me feel uncomfortable. It's like weird things that it's like you know what I mean? They're like, oh, you look so good for your age or something like
the
weird.
Kind of backhanded compliment
or something.
stuff?
Yeah. So, or something like that. So then CC is like that where Maxwell tolerates it until a point. And then it's like one of those things that like keeps coming up and he's like, okay, whatever.
I have always taken it that he knows that CC has a crush, but I don't think he fully knows the extent of how much she
I
really
think he
likes.
does.
Because he is always painted to be naive and out of it and those kind of things. But I think he knows more than what he lets on. But I think that he's just so anti-confrontation. That's why he always has Fran and Niles settle everything.
That's true.
Because he doesn't want to have to settle anything, or he has Cece settle things if it's business. He's so non-confrontational.
That's true.
So what I think happens is like his way of dealing with it is to say what I basically told you, because I wanted to see if you had the same thought I did, which is, I know Cece likes me, but I'm going to kind of turn her down, quote unquote, gently, even though they come across as reads. Like when she was like, I want him to meet the man in my life, meaning her father. And he goes, oh, by all means, bring him along. Like, oh, okay, that is cold, bitch. That is some cold shit.
And when I hear that, I thought it was coming from a place of like, okay, yeah. Yeah, bring the guy then. Like, bring the guy. Like,
I thought it was coming as like, oh yeah, bring him along. As like I'm not your man, bitch. But I also that's what I. But also as like if you do have a man, I want you should bring him. Like I never think he's not a mean character. Totally he would not do that to hurt somebody. So like I truly think that he lets on, or he knows more than what he lets on. But he's not the most with it when it comes to to relation, especially when it's like intimate relationships and like how people feel. And he's not very emotional in that.
Yeah. So then after this specific scene, I think are in the kitchen and Brighton comes back from his baseball game and Fran notices that he doesn't have any grass stains on his pants. And I love this because it's a role reversal from what we've had at the beginning of the season where Maggie is the one teasing Brighton and she like makes a lot of funny one-liners, some funny jabs at Brighton, basically making fun of the fact that he sits on the bench and doesn't actually play.
That's not true. He plays right field.
He plays right field, which
Loserland.
Which
did you play right field?
I played center field.
Oh, that's actually the best field to play.
I played center and left field, not right field.
And what? That is actually okay. So I am a fierce baseball fan.
And it was softball. It wasn't baseball.
And I played softball for how many years?
I can throw far. 10? I can't throw fast.
Here, you want to learn a little bit about Beth right now?
I do.
I was so in our area we had what we called first team all Northern or second team all Northern, which meant that they would choose one person per position for all the varsity sports for like softball and out of all the schools in the section. And like if you were made first team all Northern for that position, you were the best of that. I got first team all Northern for third base my senior year.
Ooh, third base. That's a heated one.
That's a heated one. Well, I used to play catcher. I injured myself. I moved up to JV and varsity early.
Okay.
And I injured myself one game because we were playing with shorts and I didn't have a slider and they had a clay tablet field and I ripped up my leg.
Oh, that's disgusting.
3 times in the same.
Girl, this is not where I thought the story was going to go.
Ripped up my leg. Like, it was gross. So I was on the side.
Gross.
I'm going to get even grosser. I was on the side and my parents and some of the other parents were taking as what they could, like tweezers and such, and like trying to get all the little bits of like the gravel and stuff out of my leg.
Yuck. That's so gross.
So after the game, I had to go to the hospital so that they could clean it up properly. So with that said, I couldn't, I was a catcher and every time I went to go squat, it would open them back up. So I couldn't, yeah. So I couldn't do that anymore. So I went and I played outfield for the next couple of games with my catcher's mitt. It looked real hot out there. My short mitt being like, I still caught all the balls and what? But then because I'm used to throwing across the diamond, because I used to be able to throw from a squatted position all the way to second base quickly to try to tag out so that second baseman could tag out the runner. I was good at that. So they put me at third base so I could throw all the way over to first base all the time. And fun fact, my senior year, I threw a ball so hard and fast at my first baseman who was first team All-Northern for first base. Yeah. I broke her thumb.
Oh, what the fuck, Beth? This is such a, what the hell?
Yeah.
She's like, I also, kicked a girl so hard that her kidneys came out of her back.
Okay. No. Okay. So, okay.
No, wait. No.
This was in college. We played broomball. Did you know what broomball is?
No. I wasn't cool.
Well, no one was who played broomball. So broomball was like, they did this for like, it was an intramural thing for first year students. So they set up this broomball like league. And it's basically when the ice has been skated on for like hockey practices and such. It's not Zamboni'd. It's not like super slick. It's been skated on or whatever. You play in sneakers and you play with like these like weird like little posts like things that have like padded foam bottoms and you hit like essentially a soccer ball with that. You can't kick it. You have to hit it with this ball. And then it's basically like hockey, but with sneakers and such, right?
Got it.
My team made it to the finals and the school didn't know we were playing the finals the same night. They Zamboni'd the ice. Which was so much fun because when you fell, first of all, it didn't hurt. It hurt the next day. Yeah. But then you slid forever and couldn't stop. And you were like, ah!
And you're just playing this in sneakers?
Yeah, just playing in sneakers.
That's so dangerous.
It was so dangerous. And I don't know why they just made us play it anyway, but we played that night. And this isn't my fault, but I fell and I slid for so long and I was trying to stop. And I took a girl out at her legs and she broke her collarbone. And then she transferred schools.
And to this day, if you're out there,
I'm sorry.
Bethany, Elizabeth, Margaret, Howard, we will hunt you down and we'll break the other collarbone.
No!
I was kidding.
I like to think that's not why she transferred, but I have a hard time not correlating the two. Well, I felt really bad about it. She didn't really, when she was getting taken away in the ambulance, she was laughing and having a good time and everything. That's great. So I don't think she was in a lot of pain in that moment, but I'm hoping that.
See, I think we have very similar stories because I played softball when I was in college because I wanted to flirt and like basically have sex with the gay men that I played in the league with. It was a gay sports league.
Well, so softball, but for women.
And that's basically the moral of the story, kids.
Yay.
Play softball if you want to get laid.
Well, we should probably bring this back to the nanny now that I said all these stories that make no difference to it. But yeah, so what we find out is that Brighton is playing right field. He's not getting a lot of play time, and they've kind of put him in the you're a weaker player land. Because for those that don't know, right field is in Major League Baseball and in college softball and that kind of thing, like that is a really good position to play. There's a lot you have to know and do because people actually know how to place balls there. Yeah. Or you get people who have been forced to bat right-handed when they're really left-handed and they learn how to properly bat for their stance and for their dominant side. So right field actually is a really important field, but not so much at the like little league level.
Yeah. You're not doing anything out there.
Yeah. You're picking dandelions.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, when you said picking dandelion, that just reminded me. I used to do that all the time. Like when I was in left field,
everybody.
So sorry, I'm getting so distracted. So anyway, We learn that Cece's dad's name is Stuart,
Mm-hmm.
and Stuart is in town for a business meeting that he has to do because him and a bunch of investors are investing in Barbra Streisand's concert that's going to be happening, or their tour that's going to be happening.
Tour, yeah.
And so he's going to be meeting Barbra Streisand, and well, we learn that later, but Cece inadvertently invites him to have dinner, isn't it? Like at the house.
Well, she invites him to dinner, and that's where we find all this information and such. So basically, like, she's like, he's always really controlling and you know, very nitpicky about everything. So she's running around like before the dinner happens and trying to make sure everything's right as rain. And then when the dinner's happening, that's when he says, you know, I back Barbra Streisand. And this is when we learn something that will be an incredibly huge theme throughout the rest of the Nanny.
I love it.
That not just Fran, but her entire family and Sylvia are the largest fans of Barbra Streisand.
I love it. It's so silly. It's such a cute. Sorry. It's such a cute.
It's so entertaining.
No, it is. It's such a cute character moment for her and her family because obviously her and her family are Jewish.
Yes.
Barbra Streisand is probably one of the more famous Jewish musicians out there. And so it makes complete sense why the writers would make Fran a huge Barbra Streisand fan.
And, you know, obviously the writers and the creators and such of the show, including Fran Drescher herself, are also really big fans of not only of Barbra, but of musical theater. And that's why they make Maxwell a Broadway producer, but they're able to like marry these two worlds where Barbara's really accomplished within musical theater as well. So it makes sense as to why Fran has an interest in what Maxwell does as well.
Yeah.
And how he's meeting with all these different celebrities. And she has like lots of feelings about celebrities in great ways. And like, it's very in tune with what celebrity news is.
It's super silly too, because it comes across as not just a fan. She's like a stalker almost of Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
She spent, what was it, like $200 for a piece of bubble gum. A piece of bubble gum that was underneath Barbra Streisand's shoe.
Yeah, but that's not the thing that's framed in her room. That's, a gumball or something that was in Barbra Streisand's ex-husband's mouth that got spit out.
I love that about her. I love that character development for Fran.
Yeah.
I love that she spends her money on fashion and Barbra Streisand paraphernalia.
And by paraphernalia, we fully mean like gum that was on the bottom of her shoe. It's not even that she chewed it herself.
Yeah.
It was at the bottom of Barbara's shoe. Like,
you know what? Work that out. So then we get this hilarious dinner scene of Stuart meeting the family. We learn here a big character moment that Stuart is very personable, something that Cece clearly lacks, and is very sociable, and they have a ton of fun, and everyone really likes Stuart, opposed to them not liking Cece. And so when Stuart mentions the Barbra Streisand tour meeting that he has to go to, or the concert that he needs to go to, Cece mentions how she doesn't like Barbra Streisand. She has never had a thing for her music. And so Stuart...
And she thinks it's too nasal.
Yeah, it's too nasal, which is hilarious. And so Stuart decides to invite Fran. And this is where we get where I thought the episode was going, where I thought Stuart was going to hit on Fran, and it was going to become something sexual and silly and weird. And it was going to basically come down to Fran needing to let Cece's dad down, and Cece's dad becoming like a creep. And like being like how she said her dad was, that he was like a shitty guy. And like, and so I thought that that's where that was going, and that like we were going to believe Cece for what she said. Well, in actuality, what we get is a lot better of a storyline and a lot better development for both Cece and her dad as characters. Now, who is Stuart? Because the audience reacted to the actor.
I don't know who this actor is.
I'm going to look it up.
Okay. My other favorite little gag of this at the dinner scene is when they're sitting there and he says, "Would you like to come with me?" and Fran faints out of the chair.
That's so funny.
And then she gets back up and he goes, oh, and we'd be in the front row. And then she faints out of the chair again. Brighton does that. Oh, did you see how her eyes rolled backwards? That was so cool. Like, we're getting like those moments. And then he says, okay, somebody might want to hold her. And we've got Gracie, Maxwell, and Niles all getting prepared to catch her. And he says, we're going to also go backstage. And she's like, I can take it. And then there's like
It's
probably
so
30
good.
more seconds of dialogue. And then we just see,
Oh my God. Don't hurt yourself.
I'm fine.
Okay. So his face looked familiar. And I think it's because I never watched this show. He was on the show I Spy. And I remember seeing clips of this, I think, on TV Land that my grandma used to watch all the time.
Yeah.
So he was on I Spy. His name's Robert Culp. He was on The Greatest American Hero. And he was also on Everybody Loves Raymond.
I was just going to say, I think I know him from Everybody Loves Raymond the most.
That
I
makes sense.
loved that show as well.
Everybody Loves Raymond was great. I was not the biggest fan of it, but I watched it because my adoptive father's family was obsessed.
So,
with Everybody Loves
fun
Raymond.
fact, Fran Drescher and Ray Romano went to high school together.
Oh, that's cute.
So they both got sitcoms around the same time, and they're both like, he's kind of got a unique voice and like all that kind of stuff
they
too.
all kind of talk.
And his show also was very much like family and the New
Yep.
York oriented, and like how annoying is my family. It's like it would make sense if there was ever a crossover kind of situation.
That would be
It was
really
just
fun. I think like timeline wise, maybe it's just in my head. I always saw Everybody Loves Raymond as more modern than the Nanny.
It is.
It
Yeah.
is?
It
Okay.
started in like 96 and this
Okay.
started in 93.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So it has a few years on it, but it ended in the earlier 2000s. The Everybody Loves
Yeah, it
Raymond.
went on for a long
I feel
time.
like it had 8 seasons or something.
If I remember correctly, the plot line of Everybody Loves Raymond gets really weird. It because so many of the cast, if I remember correctly, leave the show or like cast members died.
I think Frank Boyle died.
Yeah, and they had to figure out where they were
Yeah.
going to do the show, and they still kept it going for
And
2
then
more
Doris
seasons.
was still alive, but like that she was not in good health or something like that. She's since passed, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we're not an Everybody Loves Raymond podcast,
No.
but sitcoms of the 90s, this makes sense why Robert Culp would be like, oh my gosh, like people were freaking out.
And I know that name, Robert Culp, so I'm
Yeah.
sure that there's something else I know him from.
But we have this really funny moment where, like you said, she's constantly fading. Again, more of this physical comedy, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
And also want to commend Cece's physical comedy in this scene, because every scene she is making a face, even if the camera is not on her, she's giving you the emotions of the character at all times, which I love.
It's this episode in particular, besides Schlepped Away, probably gives you the best sense of like where Cece's characters like boundaries are. Like she can do things very subtly and she could do things over the top, and it doesn't seem out of character both ways.
Absolutely.
And I think it's silly and ridiculous, but it's not like, oh, that broke the characterization. It doesn't feel like that.
Absolutely. And I think like out of all the characters, she is the best characterized outside of Fran, obviously.
Of course,
with every time she's on screen, I feel like that is Cece. Like we've talked about how like Niles sometimes suffers from this, and even Maxwell sometimes suffers from this. But I think like Cece and Fran are like top tier when it comes to like whenever you're getting them, you're getting the character that was written for them.
I think it's easier to write for the main character and the antithesis of the name of the main character.
Probably, yeah.
And then it's harder to write for roles that are more supporting or love interest or whatever. From like nothing should break from Fran. And so they have figured out what the balance is for Cece, which is not, she doesn't have this huge role, but she also plays a huge role in many ways, And it's so clear that in season 1 and 2, they're trying to play around with that for Niles and Maxwell, and even Sylvia to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Sylvia's more of a guest appearance each time. She's not one of the main 4.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or one of the kids.
So then we get, they're going shopping.
Mm-hmm.
So Stuart and Fran had gone shopping, and they come home and they got this dress. And this is where I was like, ooh, Stuart wants to hit it so bad. He wants to hit it so bad. I thought that was like the And they were kind of hinting at that too, that like she's gonna be your new mom, like when they're talking with Cece, and to the point where like Cece gets super angry and she ends up like passing out. Was it?
Yeah, I can't remember when she passed out. Like I know she passed out, but I can't remember why.
I can't remember why either, but they're like trying to wake her up and they're like making jokes about like smelling salts and Brighton's shoe. And that's where I was just like, I feel like that's where this path is going. I feel like we're going to get to this moment where like he's going to try to kiss her on the mouth and it's going to get really awkward because he keeps calling her kitten.
Yeah, I think that
which I have a theory. I have a theory for that.
Okay.
Well, it's not really that big of a theory.
Oh.
So clearly, it's not really a theory because I think it's pretty obvious. This is what they were hinting at. So Fran talks about how Cece really wanted a father, and Stuart really wanted a daughter, but they were having communication problems, which is why they never really flourished that relationship. He really liked talking with Fran, and he felt that familial bond that he's never had with his daughter. So when he calls her kitten, it's coming from a place of father to daughter, not from father to I want to fuck you.
That's 100% it. And that's exactly the point. I think that like, I think an older generation would tell you that kitten was never meant in like a romantic way. It was always meant as like a, like literally like a child, like a kitten is a baby cat, like kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, but here's the thing is that throughout the 90s, a lot of the language that was used in that way,
like a sex kitten
there's that, but I would also say that like there's a lot of those terms that were used to describe women and their relationships with men that are now very outdated. Like if like an older man called me kitten, I would not like that.
See, you can call me kitten any day.
Well, that's the difference between you and me.
Just kidding. Don't call me kitten, please.
Yeah, call him little piggy.
Little baby boy.
Little baby.
Oh, I hate this.
Little baby.
I hate that.
Baby.
Okay. Anyway, so that is when we also get like the side plot that feeds into the lesson where Maxwell is getting invited to this really prestigious like Broadway musical like conference of sorts or something like that. It's like
a theater guild.
Theater guild. That's what it is.
The theater guild is actually a thing. And so basically, I love the setup for this because this is also kind of a recurring theme that we'll start getting.
Like he's not the actual Andrew Lloyd Webber. He's always the step down.
He's like, you ordered Andrew Lloyd Webber on
Wish,
and you get Maxwell Sheffield in the mail. Yeah, it's one of those situations. And so Andrew Lloyd Webber's gone. Stephen Sondheim can't do it. So they call Maxwell Sheffield.
That's so silly.
And so he's really excited because this is a really big honor and he wants to take it. But he realizes, I told Brighton I was going to take him to Shea Stadium, which is, no longer. There's no longer a Shea Stadium. It was replaced in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. I'm pretty sure it was earlier 2000s with Citi Field, which is in Queens where the Mets play. And I think is probably one of the best baseball stadiums. It's better than Yankee Stadium. You heard it here, folks. I am a Yankees fan and I prefer going to Citi Field.
Oh, damn, girl. I don't know what that means, but sports ball, rivalries, I'm here for it. You better throw those balls, honey.
You better work, outfield.
Come on, left field.
Come on, bench.
So this is where we get this scene where Maxwell is having to tell Brighton that he's not going to be able to go to the baseball game. And Brighton takes it really well. He's just like, I really don't care, Dad.
I get it. I don't care. It's not a big deal. Live your life. Blah, blah, blah.
Live life, love. There you go.
But Fran, I think, is picking up on the energy of what's been going on with Cece and her father and is going, oh, no. Clearly, Cece wants to go to this concert and I shouldn't be going. Just like Brighton is going to be really upset. Yep. So
I'm going to tell a personal story here.
Okay.
You all look so sad when I said. No,
I was preparing myself.
Well, no, I was in a similar spot as Cece was growing up.
I thought you were going to say a Stewart. I was like,
yeah, I was Stewart. Yeah, I have a child. Where I remember there were times where, because my mom was disabled and there were certain things that she couldn't go to, I would obviously didn't want her to feel feel ashamed that she couldn't go to these things because of her back. And like my mom has like a lot of like injuries. So she doesn't have a lot of energy to go out and do things.
Yeah.
And so she couldn't go to like my graduation. She couldn't go to like all these other things. And it really hurt me as a kid. It really affected my relationship with my mother because I was like, she used to always tell me, I can't wait to go to the X thing. And they would not go to X thing. And I'd be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, Mama. It's not. But personally, it really did affect me. Eventually, we talked it out. Things are a lot better now. So I completely get where Fran is coming from here, where it's like the kid isn't going to tell you that you're being like you're not being mean, but like the kid's not going to tell you that they care.
They're not going to put, they're not going to like inconvenience you with their, because kids know that they don't get the final say in things. So if a parent or an adult says, I can't do this, they can't do this.
It's like, what am I going to do? Argue against you?
Yeah.
Like,
and so protective children will try to protect their feelings from their parents and say, oh no, it's not a big deal, when it is a big deal.
Yeah. And so I felt
and those
this
people
moment.
turn into depressed, anxious human beings as adults.
Ooh, welcome to Hot Mess Moments.
Hi, I'm anxious.
And I'm depressed. No, could you imagine?
No, we are though.
No, but the actual episode itself has this message throughout it where it's like the lesson is kind of spend time with your family because there's this theme of blood thicker than water and how you should spend time with. That's like a theme that Sylvia compounded into Fran's head growing up, was that blood is thicker than water. You should spend time with your family whenever you can, because you can wash both off of
a plastic couch. My favorite line of the whole thing is when Fran goes, Mom, you raised me too well. Like, you know, you always told me to put family first. And Sylvia goes, our family, not theirs.
Yeah. Which is so Sylvia.
It's so Sylvia. I love it. But just so that we can kind of continue to roll on with the plot here. I think so. Well, it's pretty simple what happens.
Yeah.
You know, Fran gets all dolled up. She's ready to go. And
which outfit of the episode? It looked good.
Bam. Also, I was expecting, it was like watching Sonique's lip sync. I was waiting for them titties to pop out.
My eyes were on those titties, but like in a respectful way.
No, mine weren't.
I was just like,
I was not respectful.
I was like, Fran, you better watch out.
I've seen this episode how many times, and I'm still like, are they gonna happen?
Oh my god. So yeah, basically, she comes down the stairs. Stuart's like, awooga, but like in a respectful way. He's like, oh, because she looks. Can we put that on shirt? Awooga, but like respectfully.
You remember when you went on like a 5-minute tirade about how it wasn't sexual, and then you followed it up with awooga, but in a respectful way?
Awooga, but like in a fatherly kind of way.
I will tell you straight up, if John Dixon ever went awooga, I mean that respectfully, Beth, I would pack my bags and run.
Sound off in the comments if your father's ever said
no, don't sound off in the comments. That is traumatic as hell. Go see a therapist. And maybe tell the police.
Possibly.
Jeez. Oh, God.
Blink twice if you need help. So yeah, she comes down and poor Niall's feet. He is just really hurting. These corns are killing him.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of jokes here about like how it's going to be slow for him to go do things. And I find that really funny. But my favorite joke, I know we're like glossing over some of the plot. We've already talked about the lesson.
And basically, Fran consoles Cece in the bathroom upstairs when she's upset because she thinks that her dad and Fran are like kind of dating or whatever. Because she walks in,
which is what I thought too.
Right. She walks in on the two of them hugging after Fran says, you have to ask Cece to go to this concert with you instead of me. She consoles Cece, who has a complete breakdown. She passes her over to her father, and her father is consoling her, asks her to go to the concert. And Cece goes and also takes Fran's dress while she's
which I love it. I love that she's
great.
like, she's such a good friend. She's going to let me borrow her dress.
And so
I love it.
And it's then we see Maxwell at the end try to, you know, make it up to Brighton by saying, oh no, I've canceled the theater guild thing so that I can spend time with you. And Brighton's like, I really didn't care about that. I
he's
already
like, I rescheduled.
Plans. I made plans. So I'm going to need a rain check. It's a situation. So that's the plot.
Yeah,
of the
that's
episode.
the plot. I do want to call out two things that I thought was really
of
cool.
course.
First, probably favorite joke of the episode was Sylvia using her nail to open up the door.
Acrylic.
Yeah, she said acrylics. Like the way, I don't know why I said it like that. Acrylics. Why did I say it like that?
I don't know, but she does say it weird though. She
Yeah.
doesn't go like that's not something you're expecting. And I love that they literally send Niles down. Poor Niles can't walk, and they send him down to get a butter knife to try to jar open the door. And she goes, "Ma, get your nail in there." And so she's sitting there with her long acrylic, and then she takes it out just the way that she's like, it's like paws up. It's like that's what she does. Acrylics.
Acrylics.
I was imagining your husband being like, yes.
I can see it. Yes. I love the thought process of like Sylvia being the next Inspector Gadget, but it's all just acrylics.
Just all nails.
Just all nails. That's all it is.
This one opens doors. This one makes a chicken. This one doesn't.
Sylvia had so many great moments in this episode, especially when she's like talking with Stuart, where she's like, "You can take me instead. This outfit is reversible day and night.
This outfit turns into a night outfit with just a change of accessories." So good.
I love her so much.
I love Sylvia.
And then I really love that the obviously the lesson of the episode is to spend time with family, but sometimes your family just doesn't want to spend time with you. And you just got to live with that, you know, because that's how Brighton was. Brighton's like, "Dad, I get it. You have a big thing that you want to go to. I truly don't care." And I respected that. I liked that the lesson wasn't some golden rule standard. It's
totally.
Apply it when you need to apply it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So who was your MVP of the episode?
MVP would definitely go to Stuart. I would give it to Stuart because he was respectful of Cece saying that she didn't want to go to the Barbra Streisand thing. It seemed like he wanted to get to know Cece more. It's just that Cece has always put this wall up. And I feel like because he's so busy, he has not been the best father. And so he didn't know what she needed. Once he knew what she needed via Fran, he did whatever he could to make her feel better. He like consoled her in the bathroom. He took her to the Barbra Streisand thing. He seemed to be spending time with her and she like felt better about it. I would give it to Stuart because he learned his lesson. And before that, he also didn't seem like the shitty father that he was made out to kind of sound like.
So funny. I would have made him the LVP of the episode.
Really? Why?
Because I kind of generally felt like he never even he never asked Cece in the first place if she wanted to go to the concert. He just jumped to offering it up to Fran.
I took it as he was originally going to give it to Cece.
Which you should still ask your daughter first before you invite a stranger. And then you should be also like, honestly, there's so many, like, if it wasn't for Fran, who in my opinion is the MVP of the episode.
Yeah, Fran's great.
If it's not for Fran, he doesn't console her. The relationship isn't like furthered or anything like that.
So I can't give it to Fran because Fran caused Maxwell to miss a very important Theaters Guild thing because she was trying too hard to assert her own teachings on the family to the point where Brighton didn't go to a baseball game and Maxwell didn't go to a really important thing.
And let's be honest, in both of these situations, not Fran's fault, Maxwell's fault, Stuart's fault. Neither one of them checked with their kids.
Totally.
And have that conversation. And it's like when you take advice from your friend and like don't actually address the person that you're having a conflict or you're having emotional turmoil or whatever with. Always address with the people you have an issue with.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to get an outside opinion unless you're not going to address it with that person. So it's ultimately, again, both of the father's faults in this situation.
No, that makes sense. I also, I don't know who else to give it to. Like, I personally, how I read the scene when they were sitting at the dinner was that he was originally going to offer it to see. I'd be no different than like if I was going to invite you to something and then like we were sitting around at dinner and you were like, actually, I hate I hate this restaurant. I think this restaurant's awful.
Mhm.
I hate all the food there. And then I'd be like, oh, well, I was gonna, take you to the restaurant. But I mean, if you're
But he
talking
doesn't even say, I was going to invite you, but let me ask Fran. What he says is, Fran, would you like to go? I think it's better in that situation. It always is, oh, I was thinking about taking you there. Is it okay if I ask somebody else to go in their stead?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a more polite thing to do because
Yeah.
you have to give that person the out. If you wanted to invite them to something and you knew it would probably do something to help your relationship with that person, give them the opportunity to give the out.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also think that we're inserting our own mentality on what their relationship was. Clearly, they already had a rocky relationship to begin with.
Mhm.
So it seemed like, based off of what Cece was talking about, they would go out and do things before, and it
Mhm.
just wouldn't. Like, she's like, yeah, I sat with him in a car and we had dinner, like at a restaurant and something
Dinner
like
at a
that.
restaurant's very different than going backstage and meeting Barbra Streisand, who works in the industry that your daughter is in.
But she doesn't like Barbra Streisand, so
It doesn't matter. She can still make money off of her. She can still do these things.
I disagree with that.
Oh,
I disagree with that.
I think this could have been a wonderful opportunity for him to say, I know you're not a big fan of her. I was hoping to actually bring you to this. Maybe this is something that you can do to like.
But
Connect
again,
with her.
we're inserting our own, like, of course we think that because we think from like a good father standpoint, their relationship isn't like that. And so like, I think he was coming from a mindset of like, I had a ticket available to this thing. And the way that he like speaks about it makes it seem like he was already going to invite Cece, but he hadn't told Cece yet that like, hey, there's this thing that we're going to. But then she talks so badly about it. Agreed. He should have been like, hey, yo, girl.
I wanted to bring you. You
wanted
don't
to
want to
bring
go.
you. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I just don't listen. This is your decision for MVP and LVP.
Yeah.
So who's your LVP?
My LVP would have to go to I might say Maxwell.
Okay.
I might say Maxwell here just because, like you said before, he didn't really have a backbone. And so he just kind of followed what he was told and didn't really I love that he did at the end of the episode accept the lesson and like just try to spend time with his son. But he didn't actually listen to his son's opinion after his son gave him his opinion, and instead listened to Fran, who he had stated multiple times had not been the best person to talk to, for some pieces of advice like this. So probably give my LVP to Maxwell.
I think that's solid.
Yeah.
All right. So the next episode is called Franny's Choice. What do you think this is about?
Franny's Choice. Why? I don't know why, but mentally, I'm thinking this is going to be about. I don't know why. I feel like Franny's Choice is a pun of a show that must have existed around this time. I feel like there is a show that sounds similar to that.
It's a movie.
Is it?
I think Meryl Streep.
I don't know.
Sophie's Choice?
No, I've never seen it. Nigel's like,
Your fucking husband.
have you seen Sophie's Choice, babe? He says, yeah.
Streep.
It's Meryl.
I've never seen it. I don't even know what it's about. Yeah.
You've never heard someone say, "Oh my god, this is like Sophie's Choice."
No. I've never heard
You
that.
have the most uncultured husband, Nigel. I feel so bad.
What is that? What is that?
Oh,
It's like when it's two good choices, but you have to give up one. Like
I've never heard of this.
Two of them are sick, but you can kill one to save the other. How do you choose?
Yeah.
You can't choose.
It's not necessarily. It's when you have two impossible choices. It's like you have to.
I've heard the greater of two evils or something.
Yeah.
That's the mentality. That's what I've heard. Not Sophie's Choice.
Oh, honey, this is like honestly knife in the heart situation here.
I've never seen it.
Like just the fact that you don't even know like the phrase like, oh, this is the Sophie's Choice situation. Like
No.
people say that all the time as a reference when it's an impossible decision to make.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
Maybe I wonder if it's like a colloquial thing because like in the Midwest we always say the greater of two evils.
yeah, people say that too, but
I've never heard so. I didn't even know that was a thing.
wow.
Well, now that I know that, I'm assuming the episode something bad is going to happen, and
Well,
Fran's going to have to make a decision.
all I'm saying is that you were like, oh, it sounds like a TV show that's around there. I'm not saying that the episode's about that. I'm just saying that you were trying to figure out what does that sound like. I'm like, oh, Sophie's Choice.
Yeah, I'm still thinking it's about Sophie's Choice.
Okay.
Yeah, I think something's gonna happen
So-
where Fran's gonna have to choose between maybe two kids, or two things are gonna happen.
Oh shit.
And it's gonna cause some tension in the household.
Okay. So you think it's a choice between two of the children?
Yes, I think it's two of the children. Maybe like they
Which
want to
one
do.
gets to live?
No, I think it's going to be like
Oh.
one has something to do, the other has something to do. Fran can't do it with both. And so she's going to maybe spend more time with one kid. The other kid's going to get jealous and she's going to feel like she's being stretched thin. And she's realizing how much of an impact she has on this family.
Very fun.
Like, yeah.
We have another fun guest star next week, which I'm excited about. I will not say who it is. I will not repeat anything about it. Just stay tuned. That'll
Cool.
be good.
So that was episode 20, Ode to Barbara Joan, not Jones.
Thank you.
And we are going to be heading into episode 19 of Lost, Deux Ex Machina.
Previously on Lost.
Now listen, I know what Deus Machina means. I'm a
Yeah.
theater girl. Deus Machina. Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, Deus Ex, yeah.
Deus Ex Machina means it's basically like the machine, the mechanic, the thing within a show that helps the catharsis happen for a resolving of an ending, right? And so I went into this knowing that if anything happens with the hatch, it's not going to happen until the very, very, very end of the episode.
Okay, I'm curious your thoughts on why it's named this, but okay, go on.
Okay. So I still maintain that normally Deus Ex Machina happens when the character is at their absolute worst.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, whatever. And it was so written in the stars that this was going to happen from the moment I knew what the title was.
Mhm.
This is a Locke-centered episode. And we see Locke in the past, and we obviously, with his flashbacks and such, about learning about his father and his relationship with his family and his parents, his natural parents, who he didn't know ahead of time. And then we see how that relates to the visions and dreams he's having in his relationship with this island. The island has almost become like a parent to him,
Mhm.
which I have said before, he has a weird connection that nobody else has, an understanding that nobody else has. And we see a parallel in the way that the father kind of lulls him in and tricks him and manipulates him only to leave him be, and how he feels the island has done that with his legs and with his ability to be like a true like living to his potential. And
Yeah.
in both in the flashback and in modern time, we hear him say it was meant to be, like often. Like he's someone who does believe in fate. He's somebody who believes in just that kind of unnatural force. So let's start.
So I want to ask you a question, because your explanation for Deus Ex Machina is very different than mine.
Okay.
But I know yours is one of the definitions for Deus Ex
Yeah.
Machina. So one of the other definitions for Deus Ex Machina is an unexpected power or event, it's like a contrived plot device. So like,
That's what I said.
well, not so much in like, you do have to be hopeless, but like sometimes it's just written in there, like it just comes out of the blue. Like it doesn't, there's no lead up, it just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought yours was more about like someone who is like on their last legs, like they're about to like, jump into the
I'm
unknown
saying
and-
that like that's often how it happens, but it like
Okay.
in this sense, the Deus Ex Machina is the fact that his legs are just stopping to work. Like it's this plot
I
device
see.
that is used.
I get what you're saying. I'm an idiot.
used
Sorry.
to get to this character to get to a point that needs to be changed, that has the catharsis or whatever, that then also has the next thing that just happens and
I
it
see.
changes the situation.
I was misunderstanding.
No,
my
that's
bad.
okay, that's okay.
That's my bad.
This often happens a lot in theater, especially when you're like in Moliere times.
Yeah.
Chekhov did a lot of Deus Ex Machina work as well. Like there's a lot of playwrights who kind of use this like seemingly weird. That's what I say when I say like mechanic. I meant like a plot device or something like that.
No, yeah. I thought when you were explaining it, I thought you were meaning that like the Deus Ex Machina was the fact that he was on his last leg. I misunderstood.
No. It's the thing that gets them to the point where like they're at a breaking point where then something else changes and you're like, oh,
cool.
okay. It leads to the catharsis kind of thing.
So you're with this plot and like what we see with like Locke.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you want to break this down. Do you want to go flashbacks only or flashbacks first and then plot on the island? Or do you want to do them hand in hand because they are kind of similar?
I'm thinking we just go through the show.
Okay, let's do that.
Because I think it makes the most sense for something like this. Because as you say, that the memories and what's happening in modern time, because he's having a relapse of the loose use of his legs, it ties in very closely to the memories. And
cool,
such.
I'm down.
And then we can kind of just, as they come up, talk about the smaller plot points that are happening
with
as well.
Soya.
Like, actually, let's just get that out of the way quickly.
Yeah.
Sawyer can't read. There you go. No, just kidding.
No.
So, Sawyer's having headaches, and they're coming at midday. He's getting kind of nervous about them, and Kate is nervous about it. So she gets Jack to help him out, and Jack manipulates him into revealing some information in front of Kate in order, as a means, I think, as a love triangle to basically be like, this guy has STDs and has slept with a prostitute, like, which I thought was dirty as fuck.
Very dirty. Like but abuse of power.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
That is absolutely Jack's way of moving forward, not having to live with the ethical code of what he has had.
Yeah, that's true.
Basically, Sawyer's the one who has told him, leave your past behind and create a new character. So the fact that Sawyer is now the person that twice now has been the product of what that is. So I don't agree with it. I'm not trying to say you go, Jack, but I am part of this is how Jack is like able to kind of leave the guilt of his father and his career and those kind of things behind and do the things that like honestly are shitty.
It's also interesting. I love seeing Sawyer squirm.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing it because we see him have to swallow his own pride because he wants to basically do everything himself and not have to rely on another person to do it. But obviously when it comes to medical stuff, I thought it was so fucking cute when he would tell he's concerned. And what's the actor's name?
Josh Holloway.
Josh Holloway does such an amazing job acting with his face because he goes from like, yeah, I'm a gruff, tough guy to like, oh shit, wait, is it a tumor?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, what do I have? And he like has this like innocent, like, oh my God, I'm so scared, like face to him. It's so cute.
And this is, I think, a really interesting character point that you bring up, though, because he very much has always been like, if he's in control of like the pain that he's about to get, he likes to act tough. He likes to get in people's faces because he does feel like he kind of deserves it, right? But when life has dealt him something that he doesn't like have control over, that's where he turns into more of a vulnerable like puppy.
Yeah, it's like the kid comes
he's
out.
Not a puppy, but
the inner child.
The inner child, of course. Which basically the only point there is that, which I do think is really cute, is that they find out that he just needs reading glasses because he's been reading a lot. And so he's been getting these headaches and migraines because he's farsighted, which means that he can see far away fine, but close up is really hard. So they find all these different glasses on the island and they fuse together two different ones.
So cute.
That have the prescriptions for each eye that would work best for him. And they're messed up looking, but it's a cute moment. And I think it's just another example of like just showing some of the ingenuity as well as like the community coming together for him, which I think is important.
It's like a closing of a chapter for him because he went from like being like vilified and everyone hating him. And now people seem to be okay with him to the point where they'll help him for free.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is nice.
And that's pretty much the small plot. Everything else is Locke, right? Yep. Is there anything else?
There's like a little bit of Locke, a little bit of Boone, but not a lot of Boone.
Yeah, but Locke and Boone, but there's nobody else that has anything, right?
Nope, okay. That's pretty much it.
So let's start. It started with the flashback, and then they did hit it over the head again. So Locke has had his condition for 4 years before the which 4 is a number. Know that.
Yeah.
But also,
I'm glad you're catching those.
You better believe in the amount of times that in his vision where he says Teresa went up the stairs or Teresa fell down the stairs, whatever. That was 8 times it was said.
Yep. Yep.
Count, bitch. So basically, I didn't catch that he had the condition for 4 years. So that does tell me that something happened, like a traumatic event or an illness or something that rendered him as a paraplegic.
Yep.
And so, because he then reiterates in this episode to Boone that he had lived as being paralyzed for 4 years.
Yep.
And that he was in a wheelchair when he was on the plane, but when he got off the plane, he was no longer in that wheelchair and had full use of his legs.
Yep.
So, so that was just an important point that I wanted to bring up because I think I had said before that, and I'm still so fucking upset that it was just a game of Battleship that he was playing. Like I was so here for.
You wanted him to be a secret agent so bad.
I wanted him to be like an ex-military FBI CIA agent.
Sorry, he just works at the same box company.
No. I'm gonna put this out here. If you are just fucking with me right now, and he is something like that, I'm going to literally fly to St. Louis and give you a hug. And
You'll
be
have
like,
to
oh my
wait.
God, I miss you. And then I'm going to slap you so fucking hard across
You'll
the
have to
face.
see.
Just putting it out there. We can all look forward to that.
You'll have to see, girl.
Okay. So, and then it says Locke was playing Mousetrap, which I think it says inspired his traps on the island and the trebuchet.
Yeah, it's definitely like a theme for this episode.
Totally.
Would you also say that he was trapped by his visions? Because the whole purpose of this is like, you lure a mouse to the trap and then he gets trapped. Mm-hmm. So he
is the mouse.
He was blindly following these dreams that he had, and it led to Boone getting very critically injured. Yeah. Potentially dead. We're not sure.
Well, and here's the thing. We see that Boone is critically injured in the vision. So the vision tells him right up the fact that like this is going to lead to that. So he just chooses to ignore that portion because
it's blind faith, kind of.
Yeah. Whoops, I pressed the wrong button there. Yeah. So let's get to the next point, which is stop fucking pulling out shit out of your bodies.
Yeah, that's weird. I hate
when impaled. Can we stop in this show? That is not what you do.
Yeah. So for reference, this is when the trebuchet comes down. They think that it's going to break the hatch's window. We learn that thing is made tight. That is like a
it may not even be glass. It is
I think
something else.
That is definitely like fiberglass.
It is something. Yeah. It is tough. So yeah. So now he has a piece of the trebuchet like metal lodged into his leg, and Boone is like, "Dude, your leg," and he's like, "Oh," and he realizes he can't feel it. So then we see him at a fire. First of all, he just pulls it out of him right there. Don't ever do that.
This is like the third time. We're going to compound this in your head. This is a survival podcast right now.
Yeah. If you are on Survivor, no, but seriously, don't pull it out. Because what it's doing is holding your blood vessels together where it is and letting the blood continue to flow. Yep. And not, leave your body in a way that will allow you to bleed out or severely injure yourself further or lose consciousness or those kind of things. It's better to try to seek help. Put yourself in a tourniquet first, too, people. Yep. There's so many things that you should be doing. And then what we see him do is he's sitting around a fire trying to treat the wound, and he realizes he can't feel the needle that he's using.
That he just jab,
and it's not doing anything. So he goes to the other leg, realizes he can't feel anything, and then you see him take a coal and burn the bottom of his foot. And I'm like, bitch, if you just pull shit out of your leg, you might as well cauterize the wound. If you can't feel anything, now is the time, baby. Now is the time to cauterize.
Utilize
why are
this
you
moment.
wasting this on the bottom of your foot when you could be causing further injury to a place that's not even injured? Literally, you're supposed to be a smart one. What the fuck? So anyway, that was a major point I needed to bring up here.
No, yeah. And I like this quote that's said in this moment where Locke says, everything breaks if you apply enough force. Which also is kind of the theme of this episode where Locke always seems like a very strong-willed character that people look up to, but even he can break. This is like you said, Deus Machina. This is his hopelessness moment.
Yeah, exactly. So In the flashback, we see the woman that was kind of stalking him at the store that he worked at. He comes across her in the parking lot and he asks who she is. And she says that, I'm sorry, I'm your mother, like your birth mother. And he meets with her and they're having coffee. And I'm like, I'm so obsessed with the numbers thing now. So now I'm sitting there watching how many cups of sugar. Like, she only did 3. So
Yeah,
it didn't count.
but
I was sitting there, I was like, was it 4? What do the 4 things of sugar mean? Like, and then I was
You'll be doing this the entire show.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So she basically says that, he was part of a greater design plan and that, he was a product of immaculate conception. There was no father, which leads him to hire a private investigator kind of person who does background check on the mother, finds out that she's schizophrenic, has been institutionalized a few times. When she's on her medication, she's fine. But that he did find information on the father and said, I can tell you right now that this often doesn't help people. It often hurts people more, which is, foreshadowing. We could see that. Yep. And so he says, I want to know, which I would want to know too.
Yeah. It's your birth father.
So he finds out this information and he rolls up to this house that has a security guard and camera and all this other stuff. And, he says, I don't want anything from him. I just want to meet him. And the guy lets him in.
Which is also weird. That's like a red flag right there that 100%. You're just like, yeah, I don't want anything. I just want to meet him. Oh, okay. Come on in. Yeah.
Like, what the hell? So, the guy, he lets him in and the father, I forgot the father's name.
Anthony Cooper.
Anthony Cooper. So Anthony lets him in and they get to chatting. And the first thing I notice is that, the father was an adventurer / traveler. And this has clearly always been something that is a passion of Locke's, and that we've seen this, like, he likes setting up the traps and he likes the hunting and like these kind of things. And he goes around and you can see that he has a passion for this and everything that he talks about. So when he sees that his father is well-traveled, that he's a hunter, those kind of things. And they bond on the fact that, like, he was like, do you want to go hunting with me this Sunday? Also, this should be a red fucking flag. Like, who's just like, hey, you're my son, let's go hunting. Like, that's just weird. Because, like, I'm not even thinking like, oh, what is he going to do? I'm thinking in my head, like, is he going to fucking shoot me in the woods? Like, that's where I'm at. You don't know this man. Yeah. You don't know this man.
He's clearly got money and power.
Exactly. And he also fully says that, I tried the whole like marriage family thing a couple of times, didn't suit me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, also a red fucking flag. You're his son.
Yeah.
Like,
it's really weird. There's like a running theme so far in season 1 where people are getting conned. Yeah. Like, this is like, I think the 3rd or 4th episode of someone's backstory about being conned. Yeah. And it's just interesting to see that the writers are like constantly hitting this theme throughout the show.
And so what's interesting too, I think it just maybe makes sense actually to just talk about the flashbacks. Not that I thought we were going to go back and forth, but it does kind of make sense. So we see that the next time it's not the next time, but a time that he's going over to Anthony's house, he comes in at 11 and says, you told me to meet you here then. And he's on dialysis and goes, I was hoping you wouldn't see me here. That's why I asked you to come at noon. And I was like, no, you asked him to come at 11. And now you're gaslighting him and saying that you said noon. So, because what you're doing is manipulating him into seeing you on dialysis to make you feel bad. And now that you're, genetically, you might be a match, like those kind of things for needing a kidney because you're older and have a bad kidney and like down the list. Like, you're not going to be someone who's going to like just find a donor match. Yeah. So you have to like find a donor yourself, but he doesn't think that he can just like ask him for a kidney
because he won't, he needs to put the idea into Locke's head. So he'll come up with it himself.
Exactly. So,
which is the mindset of a con person.
Correct.
That is what con artists do.
And so I actually wrote here, I wonder if a complication from the kidney operation is what causes the issues here. Or what we don't really see anything at the end that screams, oh, this led to him being, paralyzed. But there were multiple times I was like, is he going to crash this car?
It looked like it. I thought he was going to commit suicide or something. That too, I was like, what is happening here?
So, I also wrote as a side note for the Sawyer being, part is that we saw him being sensitive to the noise last episode.
They've been hinting at this for a while. Yeah.
So, I think that I have a theory.
Okay.
This is probably really stupid.
Okay.
But guess what? Most lost theories are stupid. So
It's all
why
right.
not?
Go for it.
I have a theory that Locke is Boone's father.
Locke is Boone's father.
Yeah.
Okay. Explain this.
Because we've now seen multiple times, especially in this episode, that the things that Locke has responded to from other people in this situation, it literally happens right in a row. When his father and him are going duck hunting, he shoots the duck and he goes, "Great job, son." And that's the first time that that he hears that, and he gets like really proud. And then we cut to him with Boone, and he calls him son immediately. And I was just like, oh, I wonder if that's hinting at it. And I actually wrote this earlier. I said, weird theory, Locke is Boone's father. Dun, dun, dun. I wrote that in my notes. Dun, dun, dun.
All right.
But I said it meant a lot to Locke when his father said that to him. And we've only seen him say son twice. And this felt much more meaningful for him to say it to Boone when he spent this much time with him in a similar way, with like a kind of manipulation of using Boone in a way that his father used him, versus how he's called Walt's son, which has not felt like paternal. It felt like what you would just call a younger kid.
Yeah.
There's something there with their relationship that doesn't just read two strangers that are out in the woods
That
together.
makes sense.
There's something that is quote unquote meant to be, which is a part of this this whole situation.
Yeah, it's like his mindset. It's everything that has a purpose.
Exactly.
Like he says that to Boone over and over again. Like, there is a reason we were brought to this island. There is a job we have to do. I don't know what the job is yet, but like, I can only go off of what the visions are showing me and like what the island is telling me.
The island is speaking to me. I've seen into the eye of the island. I've seen, the visions in my dreams. Like, there's multiple things here that I think like just further show that there is, and we've already known that Locke is very manipulative, and he knows,
very manipulative.
and I think part of that is because he's had to learn how to be manipulative because he's always been the brunt of it. And
he's always been the con.
So here on the island, and similarly, Sawyer has always been the con artist, and now he's being the
one that's being conned.
So it's just really interesting.
Do you think, because his mother suffers from schizophrenia, and we've seen that Locke has shown signs of believing voices in his head, believing like things that he sees, whether they could be hallucinations or not.
Yeah.
Do you think Locke is schizophrenic like his mother?
I do.
Do you think that's what this is? Like, to show? Like, do you think this is what this is showing? Or do you think that there is a greater purpose and like these are real visions that he's getting and that this is like...
Oh, I think it's both.
Okay.
There's one of my favorite, even though I really strongly dislike J.K. Rowling and such, one of my favorite quotes of all time of anything is in the very last book and movie, when Dumbledore, after Harry has been killed by Voldemort and is on the train station. There's two quotes that happen, one of which is, words are, in my not so humble opinion, our most inexhaustible source of magic, capable of causing pain and remedying it, which I think is great because as a communication person, I love the study of language and such and theories. But the best thing that I always think about is, of course it's happening in your head, Harry, but why should that mean it's not real?
It's true.
Because I am a true believer that the meaning of life is to make meaning of life. So if you believe in God or a religion or something, then it's real. It's real for you, and therefore it's real. If you believe in astrology, then it's real for you because you manifest it to be real for you, right?
Yeah.
So we as humans are meaning makers. Our whole lives are devoted to organizing symbols and language and artifacts and such in a way that we can share our experiences with each other. And if we don't have that in form of oral or written or nonverbal communication in any capacity, then we're no different from any other species that can't communicate with each other. But we are so much more sophisticated. So we are constantly making meanings of things. And so I do think that there is something to be said about even I love the movie A Beautiful Mind and like the play Proof and like those kind of things that play with schizophrenia, because there's very much this idea of like, well, just because somebody is schizophrenic doesn't mean that maybe the visions, the hallucinations, the potential multiple personality issues that go hand in hand with it aren't real in some capacity. If they are a part of that person's lived experience, then it is real. It just may not be real to other people.
Yeah.
And so it's about organizing and sensing in a reality versus, but not pushing somebody to, I think anytime that you're dealing with someone who is schizophrenic and you say to them, that's not real, you need to stop believing, that's real to that person. You have to be able to communicate in a way that makes them understand that what is grounded in the reality that we all share, though, that's different.
No, that makes complete sense. Yeah.
So I do think that maybe his power is through his, I do think he's schizophrenic. So I think through his schizophrenia, things that normally people would downplay or invalidate him for, or as like his superpower on this island. I also think that he physically is actually okay, and that it was his schizophrenia this whole time that made him feel like he was paralyzed. Like,
oh, so you don't think he was actually ever medically paralyzed? No. Okay, interesting.
I'm sure that like he got treated and such, but if they don't, if nobody knows that he's schizophrenic, they might never have actually went like, oh, maybe this is just this issue, like a mental issue.
Interesting.
Because your mental issues can absolutely physically manifest.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a thing.
So that's my theory on Locke.
Cool. I like that theory.
So the ending with the flashbacks is we see that he has decided to, it was his idea clearly to give his father his kidney. We see them right beforehand. I'll be here when we'll see you on the other side, that kind of thing. He wakes up, and his father's not there. I think that you were at first supposed to feel like, oh God, did he die or something? But the nurse says, oh, I didn't realize that was your father. He said, yeah, we have different last names, so that was my father. And she goes, oh, well, he checked out and went home for private care. Yeah. And he said, well, he wouldn't do that to me. We were supposed to, wake up and, heal together. And then his mother walks in and says, he told me who you were, and like basically admitted to the whole con of it all. Damn. And that obviously is very hurtful, and just like it shows just like how easily he was searching for somebody and for this connection, for this searching for like the meaning of his life and these connections and what he wanted out of a relationship. And all of that is just seemed to be ripped away from him. So you see him rip his IV out. He's still bleeding from the surgery in the back. It looked awful. So bad. And he drives all the way to Anthony's house, and the security guard won't let him in. We see the camera roll on him, and
he's like, I won't let you get away with this. Or he says something like that. It's like, you can't get away with this.
You can't get away with this. And then we see him when he's driving, he's like punching the rearview mirror and all this other stuff. He's like stopping in the middle of the road and that kind of thing. And that's where we end with the flashbacks.
And it kind of factors into the present day stuff. So basically what happens is there is this like eagerness for Locke to need to get into this hatch. It is not a want, it is a need. He's like, I need to open this up because it has all the answers that I need. Inside.
Which is very similar to how he feels about his dad. By connecting with his dad, he will have all the answers that he's ever needed of like, and I can't imagine what it's like to actually be a child that's been in foster care in multiple different homes. And I'm sure there's a certain feeling of I need to feel needed, because at this point, I know so many kids that I went to school with who felt like they were just burdens to be passed on from one household to the next. So feeling like, what is my purpose? Like, why am I here? There's no better sense for somebody, I'm sure, than like to meet their parents and like say like, why was I here? And to feel like you have a real bond with that person, only to find out that they've conned you just because like they figured, oh, well, you're somebody who I can
we have the same blood type potentially, and like we'd make it work. But in this moment, that is when, Locke's kind of losing Boone. Boone doesn't want to do this anymore. He doesn't want to focus on opening up this hatch. And we have this dream, this vision, and I'm curious your mindset on this vision because there's a lot that happens in it.
Yeah.
So the first strange thing that happens is we hear a plane.
We hear a plane, and we see Locke's eyes go up to the sky, and we see it kind of go, and it's like it's a small plane.
I think it's called a Beechcraft, or that's what he referred to it as. I think as a Beechcraft. It's a much smaller plane.
Yeah, it's got like a 6 passengers or something like that, and the 2 pilot seats. And I actually didn't count how many passenger seats there were.
I think there was only like 3. I think it was it's a small ass plane.
So he sees that, and you assume that it's going to crash. You don't actually see it crash, but you hear it.
And then you hear a vase or something break. Like there's a breaking of glass, and then he turns. And he just sees Boone staring up,
and he's all bloody, and he's saying, Teresa falls up the stairs. Teresa falls down the stairs, and he says each of those 4 times, 8 altogether.
Yeah.
And he's just looking up as he does that, and then he looks over and he sees his mother in that coat that she was wearing. And she's just pointing
up at the sky
and in a different direction. And so he takes that as, the island is telling me I need to go in this direction. And he does learn stuff about Boone,
and he learns. He also sees himself in a wheelchair again.
Oh, I don't remember seeing.
Yeah. So that's when he wakes up, is because he's looking down at the wheelchair, and then he wakes up and he's scared.
I don't even think I caught that.
Oh yeah, you might have been writing in your notes.
Oh, I think I was.
So he looks down and he's back in the wheelchair, which is why he thinks the island is taking away his ability to walk again, because he's like, you need to go this way, otherwise this is what's going to happen to you. And so that's kind of where he's like, oh shit.
The reason why I think that his schizophrenia is actually the reason why he can't walk and such is because what we see then is he gets Boone to follow him, and he gets Boone to agree. He tells Boone because his legs keep failing, he's falling and such. And he tells Boone that, like we said before, that he was, in a wheelchair before he got on the plane. He wakes up, he's not. He gets Boone to come with him and basically help him walk there. And then they find the plane, and he kind of collapses. Well, when the plane falls, because Boone falls to you, and we'll get back to some of the other things they find along the way.
Yeah.
We're not going to skip over that. He musters the strength and just picks up Boone and presumably brings him miles through the jungle.
Yeah, he does.
And still then, after dropping Boone off, goes back miles into the jungle to the hatch. So to me, this is absolutely a mind over matter thing, because I think that he feels like if he's failing the island, or he's failing whatever the purpose is, then he loses the purpose that the island gave him, which in this case is his strength in his legs and those kind of things.
Yep.
But meanwhile, he was fully capable of holding an adult man over his chest, going back and then going back out in the woods. He probably walked 7 miles.
Yeah, it was insane. I don't know how he had the strength to do it. They probably haven't been eating a lot, drinking a lot of water. But I mean, you also have adrenaline kicking in when you see oh shit, this man's probably dead.
But I just, what?
Oh, you looked over there and it scared me.
I was looking past your head.
Oh, you scared me there. I was like, because we're talking about creepy visions and stuff. There is this running theme about his legs. And so there is this moment where they stop and he falls and they take a break and they find rosary beads.
Mm-hmm.
And he finds this weird cord on the tree, and he pulls it and a dead body falls down. And he mentions
which, by the way, maggots are still not maggots, but there's still bugs that are eating what's left of the skin. So this tells me it's actually probably just a year old.
He says time frame wise, and again, science is loosey goosey.
Yeah,
because
get Gil Grissom from CSI, who's the entomologist, and he can tell you what the bugs are.
So So he says the clothes are still on the corpse, which tells him that the corpse is likely between 2 to 3 years old.
Okay.
Because it takes 2 to 3 years for clothes to deteriorate, which the science is loosey-goosey on this because we saw earlier what we call Adam and Eve, their skeletons. And Jack says it can sometimes those clothes won't deteriorate for hundreds of years. So,
which I think Jack is more closely, because it depends on the conditions. It really does.
It does.
But in this, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to mention. It's that I do think that these people would have been there when Rousseau was there. That's my point. Essentially
I think that too. And then,
and then we find out that it was also Nigerian.
Yeah, which is a huge. I have a theory, I want to hear your theory on this. So they learn that he's like a Nigerian priest, but he might not have been a priest because they find a gun. Then we learn later that the Beechcraft has drugs in it. So a small plane like that, you cannot drive from Nigeria to like in between Australia and the United States.
Right.
What is your theory on that? Because that's not possible. You just don't have gas.
I don't even have much of a theory, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
It makes me wonder if you really have to be flying over that part of the world in order to end up here. Because if this is not a part of the United States, or not the United States, this realm of the earth, then like you don't necessarily need to be flying over this area. It just like, yes, we do have the last episode where we learn about the transmission 16 years prior where multiple people in the Pacific heard it.
Yeah.
And so I think that is significant, but it makes me wonder about the plane. So then we see that the plane that Locke was looking at was full of Mother Teresa's that were full of heroin, which I was like, this is Charlie's favorite plane.
Oh, theory. What is your theory? Do you think that this could affect maybe Charlie's rehab process?
Well, I hope they don't friggin' tell him about it because, or that he doesn't stumble upon it. But I can see that this could be an issue for him. I'm just interested to see how this even like plays out. But the reason why I think they would eventually talk about this is because if Boone comes back and he's talking, like obviously he's going to talk about the plane. Like this is like, like when Locke leaves him there, he lies and says that he fell down a cliff. But like Boone is going to say, I was on the radio with somebody on this plane trying to get their attention. And I told them I was on the flight Oceana 815, and they were barely able to hear me. And they repeated the plane number when the plane fell.
Yeah. So that's like hard. I was just actually looking that up to see if I could find the exact things that were said. I couldn't.
Okay.
I think it's been purposely hard to like find. Yeah. So it's either someone responds back to him and he's like, oh my God, who is this? There's someone here. And then he says, we're survivors of flight 815. And the guy, it's either he repeats back what Boone says, like we're survivors of flight 815, or he says, oh my gosh, they're survivors of flight 815. I thought it was
the second one.
Yeah, and no one knows what he says.
Because of the inflection.
Yeah.
I wrote, the island did not want them to be found. The plane falls right after that. Like, I mean, I think that as he got closer to finding the radio, I really do believe that the island was like, bitch, no. I said, no, bitch.
Yeah.
You stay on this island.
So I'm curious, does this change your theory? Because your original theory was this is a purgatory. If it doesn't change your theory, how does this fit into your theory?
It doesn't fit my, it does fit my theory and it doesn't change it because like a purgatory, like a waiting place, those kind of things can change what it needs to in order to make you stay there. So I feel like this kind of still like fits that theory. And I just think it's interesting. I once again want to note that like when Boone comes out and he's all bloody, he's the same bloody that he was in the vision, which clearly was like writing on the wall that Locke doesn't see. And so we see
also wasn't bloody when he arrived at the cave. So I don't know if that's like a makeup mishap.
What do you mean? He was.
No, his arm. Remember how bloody his arm was when he gets pulled out? When they lay him down, his face is bloody, but his arms have been like completely cleaned of blood. I bet it's probably a production thing.
Probably.
I thought it was really funny. That was like, I like to think that Locke washed his arms.
Aww. Yeah. But we see Locke leave immediately after he does that. Goes back to the hatch, like I mentioned, and he's yelling the same things he basically yelled about his father Or like the things that you would imagine he was yelling about his father, like manipulating him and you can't do this to me. What have I done to deserve this? Essentially, like, and he's pounding on the glass and then a light comes on.
So theories on that.
Someone's going, get the fuck off my roof, bitch.
I mean, they've been there for like more than a week. You'd think that they would be good doing that earlier than
this
then.
could be a whole system of like underground, like survivalists, like community, like people from Rousseau's place. Or I mean, this could be a whole community of people, and they're like, what the? And like, there could be other hatches or other things. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's what I'm kind of leaning towards, though, is that there's other people who have been surviving this island who are in that hatch area.
Okay.
But they know better not to go up there for whatever reason.
Okay, interesting. And I love how the juxtaposition of like the emotion of things that are happening in the cave of like, oh my God, what's going on with Boone? Is he like is he dead? Like, is he dying? And will he survive? And then like the emotional swell of like Locke just like pounding in that music that's like coming in. Like, it's so good. Like that emotional like moment when the light comes on, which is a very, very iconic moment. And it's like, if you, I don't suggest looking it up, but there's a lot of fan art and a lot of art of like Locke looking down and like bright light coming up from the hatch. It's like one of the more iconic silhouettes of Lost is that moment.
But yeah, so that's pretty much the episode.
Yeah. So, if you had to rate it, what would you rate it?
Did we even get your rating for the Nanny?
Yeah, 8 out of 10.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't remember you saying that. So.
Yeah.
I would give this an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I think it's a strong episode. I understand that some people like this as like one of their all-time favorite episodes or the favorite episode from the season. I think the other Locke episode is better than this.
I think Walkabout's much stronger.
Yeah, I do. I think just emotionally it was much better. And we get a much better sense of who Locke is. We do here too, but I think that, I don't know, I just like the other one better.
I also like Walkabout because there's that very emotional moment when you see him stand up out of like off the ground and he's just like looking at his legs.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're
and
like,
then Jack is like, come help people. And he's like, okay.
Especially because you saw Locke and Jack's flashback of this just seemed like some random bald guy that like ran up and you learned that he's got a whole backstory to him.
Yeah.
MVP and LVP.
My MVP is going to go to Boone.
MVP to Boone?
Yeah.
Interesting. Why?
Because he so sees, first of all, it would have been so easy for him just to walk away multiple times.
Yeah.
And we see that like Locke is the one that's in need here, and that Boone is the one that kind of steps up and finds the role that he needs to, like the one that he's been really looking for, to be a leader, to be of help and that kind of thing. And even though he wants to quit, he perseveres. And I have a feeling that like that's not something he's ever really done before. And so we see him do multiple things to help Locke out. In addition, like climbing up like a huge thing,
insane.
Going into the thing, he almost potentially might have found help.
Yeah.
All these different kinds of things. He's far and away, I think, the person that enables Locke. And in a very shocking thing, I'm going to make Locke my LVP.
Okay. That makes complete sense. He basically leads Boone to death.
Yeah, essentially.
Potential death.
Yeah,
We're not
I
sure
think
yet.
that, I think that if Boone is dead, it's because of him. And I think that he's so wrapped up in himself that he doesn't see the greater signs of other people at this point. And that's why I would give it to him. And I know all y'all are thinking, but Beth, isn't Locke essentially your all-time MVP person? Like, yes, this is the Locke-centered episode. I feel for him. But there's so many things because he is so, which I can't blame him for, but it does lead to other people being hurt.
Yeah.
So
do you think there's two more things I want to talk about? So do you think Boone is dead, or do you think Boone will die?
No.
You think so you think Boone will survive?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen next episode? Which I'll just give you the name. I'm not going to say who it's centered around.
Okay.
The episode is titled Give me a second. Why is it not popping up?
I can imagine the next episode's going to spend a lot of time with Shannon and Saeed because it's going to be about Boone recovering and all that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't be shocked if there's something about Charlie and the heroin or that kind of thing. So I have a feeling that I don't even need to hear the title. I'm going to go out and say that the next episode is a Saeed-centered episode.
Okay. I'm going to look this up. I want to say it's called Do No Harm, but...
I saw it on the DVD. I think it is Do No Harm.
It is Do No Harm? Yeah. Yeah, Do No Harm it is.
Well, if it is Do No Harm, then maybe it's a Jack-centered episode because that seems like something they would say in Doctors.
Okay.
Do No Harm.
So
I think, like, if I'm trying to follow what the writers have done, which is like, who is somebody who is adjacent to something that happened dramatically at the end of the last episode? We're going to go off of that. Like when it was Claire, they went to a Charlie-centered episode, that kind of thing. That's why I think it could be a Saeed one. However, I will also say that, especially now that we've seen how Jack is handling medicine now, I wouldn't be shocked with a Do No Harm thing that if it's a Jack-centered episode.
Okay. And then speaking of side things, there's just a sort of side plot. Not really. It's not a plot. Ooh. We see that the hatch is finally, or not the hatch, the raft is almost done. Like I
didn't even notice that, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. So Michael and Jen...
I didn't even watch that entire scene. I realized I was writing the entire time.
Oh, okay. So Michael and Jen, this is like where Jack is kind of like, checking in on them. Mm-hmm. Then he goes to see Sawyer and he's like constantly like rubbing his head. So Michael and Jen have managed to not only build up to what they had already, they've already almost finished a good chunk of it. Because they say how they've learned from their mistakes from the first raft that they were able to capitalize on the second raft. So they're making hella good time on this thing.
You better work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. I could see that being.
Yeah. And that's basically Lost. That's this episode.
Very cool.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of Hot Mess Moments. This was so much fun.
Yes.
Another in-person episode. We will not be in person for the next one. I apologize.
You don't know that.
But
you don't know what I'm planning.
That's going to be episode 20 of Hot Mess Moments, which is exciting. If you are new here, make sure to follow us at Hot Mess Moments on Twitter. Make sure to leave us a comment on YouTube or tweet at us. And we'll see you next week for another Hot Mess Moment.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.